Hello, everyone. I'm Eric Saturn, or Baron Ulrich, or I do a lot of videos that I post on Facebook and stuff from the Baron. So it encompasses everything from fighting to dancing to archery to cooking and casting to everything. So yes, guys can be artsy-fartsy. Deal with it, everyone. Okay? And there's nothing wrong with it. If you can dance better, you can fight better. If you can fight better, you can't always dance better. But anyway, hopefully we'll get more and more people showing up. But one of the things that I'm going to talk about is whenever I say something and you're not sure how I'm actually discussing it or describing it and you don't understand, please make sure that you pipe up, ask questions. Clarification is always the key on a lot of stuff. So one of the things that I've seen is whenever we're talking about dancing, you have the actual practical dance stuff. All right, I'm going to go to this event and they're going to have some dance rehearsals and everything like that. That's great. But there doesn't really always seem to be an understanding of dancing. So I've actually, for over 20 years, been dancing. And it really was hard for me to go, well, I don't understand this. I really don't understand this. I can do this. I still don't understand how it comes into play or where it was from or how it was developed. And it kind of becomes more cerebral. And so I started doing a lot more research on my own on how did this go? How did this come into play? So I'm going to actually do a background aspect of a bit of a history and the development. And then we're going to discuss some of the steps. And then we're going to talk about some of the simplest dances. And one of the things that I'm going to try and do in the next several years is actually create, excuse me, I'm going to create new dances. And I'm going to take some of the older dances and reorganize them, redraw them so they're easier to understand on how or why they do it. Because if you look at it, oh, I'm looking from the French version and I don't know French, and none of this makes sense. So we need a much more baseline understanding to make sure everyone can understand. Now, this goes to the next important step before I start doing a bombardment and stuff. One of the best things about dancing is one of the things I hate most about dancing, okay? And that is the fact there is so little documentation about dancing, music, dance steps, everything. There is, but it's mostly late period, coming from dance masters and everything like that who wrote it down at that point, at that location. And that's great. But that doesn't mean that stuff that occurred 100, 300 years ago, and you're like, hey, I'm going to do this dance step, and someone goes, that looks stupid. That could have been so period correct that now that person feels weird about, oh, well, I can't prove it. Yeah, well, that's both the good and bad part. You might not be able to prove it, but guess what? They can't disprove it. So I tell everyone, if you're going to be a douche, get off of my dance floor, okay? No one should feel weird. No one should feel silly. No one should ever come out of dancing feeling like I shouldn't have done that. No, that person should be there. They need to go out. They need to have fun. They're like, oh man, I'm just sweating. Oh, this is terrible. No, that's great. That means you got to work out. You make it yours, okay? You are dancing for yourself, okay? You're not dancing for some peer. You're not dancing, hopefully not for your significant other. You are dancing for yourself because you love and enjoy dancing. And you want to encourage it by showing everyone, hey, I'm going to be the silliest guy out there. And everyone is going to laugh. And everyone's like, wow, you know what? I don't feel as bad. I think I'll go out there and try it. One of the things I love during Karabushka is there's that long, long pause. Do you still see me? It looks like my picture froze. Okay, so while I'm out there and I'm doing this and I'm looking at the person and I'm going, so it's kind of like the whole silent movie thing where all of a sudden, lots of eyes, lots of movement, lots of eyebrows, everything like that, just to get the person I'm dancing with relaxed. So they're comfortable. They're not too upset about, oh, well, I made a weird step. Am I supposed to do this? No. You're supposed to create a happy environment where everyone is enjoying themselves. So I'm going to start real quickly with the structure of dancing. The structure of dancing. Essentially, it comes down to, and excuse me if hopefully this is good enough to see, I call it the triangle. Okay, there's always three aspects when you're dealing with dancing. There's always the dance steps themselves. Sorry for my terrible writing and drawing. There is the music. And then there is the culture and geography of where those dances were. So therefore, you're always coming into mind that, okay, these dance steps will make it so that it is in the Italian area. Okay, this with this music means that it is early period or more peasant-like than court-like. So there's always the relationship between these three. Now, the timeline. The timeline gets a little confusing. So I tried to make it as easy as possible. For the timeline, you really have, because of documentation and everything like that, you have mostly that what was known as choral or Moorish dances. Chorals were pretty much people holding hands, singing, dancing in a circle around a maypole, things like that. Moorish dances were very much more individually gender specific, where all the men danced together, all the women danced together, or they did things like the scarf dance or the sword dance, the egg dance, things like that. So it was very separate. Some you could almost consider like the chorals, like Christmas carols and chorals, was very pagan-like and stuff like that. So they took a lot of that from dancing around the maypole to do a lot of bronzes, which were done in circles. So when they actually had more structure, what they did was they had essentially two categories. Okay, you had the low category and you had the high category. Okay, low was going to be more like very slow dances. These were going to be very fast dances, and they always were paired up. So they called them suites. So you had so the first two that really started being recognized was estampe and saltarello. So you had a very slow dance where you go step, stomp, step, stomp, step, stomp, estampe. And then you had more of a skip or a kick type thing. So you go step, kick, step, kick, step, kick, step, kick. Or as I used to call, kicking soccer balls or kicking cats while you're trying to dance, because they're kicking everywhere trying to get the cats off the floor. I mean, it's so annoying. But those were essentially the first two. There's not a lot of documentation. There's a few dances more on the saltarello side on how things work. The next series, which became more popular and more recognized, was the bassa, excuse me, and the tordon. So you had the low dances of the bassa and the fast dances of the tordon. Now this is where things get a little bit more complicated, because the next level beyond that is the pavans and the galliards. Okay, so the galliards are very fast, kicking da 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 da, and the pavans are much slower. Well, the difference between really the bassa and the pavan is that the pavane had a march, which was, you know, what we're going to call pavane steps, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. So instead of just the straight dance, you had a march in front of it, which was essentially the pavane steps. Now that transitioned to more of pavanes became more courtly, more refined. The bossa became more peasant. Hey, we're not really doing the nice slow stuff. We're just having a whole bunch of fun still. So when you start reading documentation, you're going to see that there is an interchangeability between both pavanes and galliards and bossa and tordons. So when they started matching, they would go and, all right, this pavane is now going to be followed with this tordon instead of a galliard, even though they're pretty much the same thing. Because remember, like I said, it also depended upon, okay, are we calling it a galliard, or is this area calling it still a tordon? That type of thing too. So it can get a little confusing, and that's where, when I started dancing, I got confused a lot about it. Why is this, even though it's the same steps, why is it named something different here, even though it's totally different over here? So you always have to make sure that you go in there with an open mind and you don't get too frustrated, because once you start getting frustrated, then you start finding more and more problems with things, and you're like, you know what, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to keep an open mind and ask more questions, and eventually someone will be able to explain it to you that you will understand. Then the last set of dances or suites were the almans and the courant. Now, this is where, from the galliard and the courant, you start to get a lot more moving. So therefore, instead of just as a partner, you go like this. Now there's the la volette, which is essentially a lot of spinning. And that kind of transitioned. And I'm going to start, and I'll wait a little bit, because that's part of the thing is, believe it or not, almost every dance in the SCA that is period correct, we still do today in different fashions. And I'm going to ask a couple trivia questions to see if you guys can figure it out. So, so once we get into this, we start developing different aspects. Like, am I going to be doing more just still with a partner? Am I going to be doing it in a line? Am I going to be doing a circle? Or am I going to be kind of breaking it off and kind of dancing all around? So now you're not just using a pattern, you're kind of doing a freestyle. So it becomes a lot more freestylish later on, which is quite interesting. You still got a set of steps, but it becomes a lot more fluid. And that's because in later periods, they actually started having dance masters. And from then, they would actually create their own books, not a lot of books, but they would actually go there and teach their specific stuff, but they would change it up to make sure that this is mine and not something from France or from Italy or from Spain. So, and that started happening more during the pavane eras, because you're going to, when you go to the Italian pavanes, to the Spanish pavanes, and yes, there were Spanish pavanes, and those were kind of, if you put in modern terms, very peacocking pavanes. So they were out there and they were like, all right, my specific hand gesture is like this. Look, the embroidery on this. This is incredible. So it was very, very showy and flashy. Italians really did more of the stances and position of the toes and the feet and everything like that. So everyone had a different variance on it. So therefore, someone can go out there and go, I am very proper when they do their dance, and they're right. And someone's out there doing the exact same dance and they're just going dance crazy, and they're correct. So that's why I say no one is ever wrong. It is how you want to dance it. So now, so I'll ask you real quickly, how are some of the old dances done today? Can you give me any specific examples? I'll get you started. Okay, Almans. What type of dancing do we do today that are Almans? Square dancing. So if you think about it, when you hear Allemande left and a do-si-do, it's an Allemande step. It's the exact same thing. So Allemandes are square dancing today. Okay, let's, pavans are pretty much just, like I said, they're marches. So it was very formal. So today's marching is pretty much it. What about saltarello steps? What type of dancing do you think is very correct, say 60 to 80% correct in today's stuff? Anyone know? If you watch a lot of Jewish dancing during their ceremonies and stuff, it's very close to a lot of dance steps that they do. Galliards. All right, this is a good one. Everyone hates Galliards. Why? Because it's so energetic and do a lot of kicking, and it's a bit energetic. But what dances today are Galliards? Does anyone know? It's a series of dances called shuffling. So if you watch LMFMO, every day I'm shuffling, da, 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 they're all doing Galliards. So it's weird. We don't change a lot of the stuff. We change some of the music, like I said, we change the culture and aspect, but the dance steps kind of come and go. So they're back again. So I always think that's kind of interesting because I could dance like that again, that'd be great, but well, life goes on. So we're going to talk now about is some of the a few of the most common dance steps. So one of the things that everyone always goes is, well, we're going to do roughy tufty. And even after me doing it like over 100 times, I'm like, yeah, we're going to do roughy tufty. Now, what's the first 6 steps again? Because you need to understand kind of the sequence on how they're, oh, okay, I got it now. Because they're all the same, really. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's in a series and it comes with the music. So saying a name sometimes is not always the best way to make sure everyone remembers the dances. So that's why like I said, I'm trying to create new dances, but I'm also trying to rewrite new dances. So one of the things that I'm trying to do is make it so everyone can understand it no matter what. So it's not a language issue. It's not a description issue. So if I say that we're going to do a simple or a single, does everyone know what those are? Okay, a simple or a single, which are the exact same thing, is where you go and you take 2 steps. So you always have a 2-step, a 4-step, an 8-step, or a 16-step combination. So the simplest ones are 2 steps, and that is usually where you take and you go left and you put your other foot and you bring it together. So it's left together, and that's it. Then the next one is going to be right together. That's 2 simples. Hello. And then you have what's known as a double, where you go left, right, left, together. Yes.
So when you're doing that, it's not coming through, when you're saying left, it looks to us like you're doing your right hand.
Oh, sorry about that. So is this left then, or is this, which one's left?
So that is your that looks like you're right to us. If we're mirroring you,
Okay, so that I'm gonna put just R on this hand, left on this hand. So therefore, all right, so let me redo that again. So go left together is one simple. Then you go right together is another simple. So 2 steps. Then if you want to do a double, you go left, right, left, together. Thank you very much for pointing that out. So when you do these, it becomes a little bit easier. But now let's just say you want to do a left together, okay? How does this thing start? Okay, you go left together. Now all of a sudden, someone does this. Oh, wait a minute. I thought you were going forward. Now you're going to the side. So you need to make sure that you tell them the direction you're going, the type of dance it is, whether it's in a line or in a circle or in a square. So whenever you start describing these, having a written aspect is important. So, and I'm going to show you how I'm rewriting these. So a simple pavon is going to be left together forward. So what I do is left, left, together, forward. Now you know you're going in a line. All right, we're going to do a bronzel. So that means you go left together to the side. Therefore, if someone looks at it and you've explained it, it's much easier for people to understand it. Now, say you need to go left together twice. Two times. So there's always, now this is the way that I'm doing it because I try to make it as simple and easy as possible. And I'm going to show you some more later on how I do it. But one of the things is when you teach or when you learn, specifically when you learn first, if you don't understand, like I said, have someone else try to teach you. And then you write down the steps or draw the steps down the way that you can understand them. So when you start teaching them, you now have a solid base to explain it to them the best way that you can. And that's important because when you start teaching these, and I hope everyone teaches these, I say everyone should have at least 5 or 6 of these are my favorite dances. Because if you teach your favorite dance, everyone will enjoy it. When you have this down, you can go and teach them, whether you have it on 3x5 cards, which is what I do a lot. Because it's also a process, like I said, when I start creating new dances, I will go and put down certain steps or certain sets on cards, and then I'll put them in order. And then go, okay, I'll do up and double and back, and I get multiple cards, so they're duplicate. And then another up and double and back, and then I'll do a left double, right single, and then I will do another up and double and back. And then I put the cards in order, and then I just flip through them to practice the dance. When you start doing that, you get it pretty much set in your head, and everyone is easy. And if they're like, I don't really understand, then you can show them the card and say, okay, here you need to go up and then left twice. Oh, okay, got it now, got it. So besides actually doing it, being able to visually teach it is also very important for people to learn. So the first ones you will always learn are always the singles or the simples, which is just 2 steps. And that's going to be So you have left together to the left together forward, left together back. Same thing. Now I usually put TO for together because later on there's turns, so I use a TU. Sorry, hopefully that's easier to see, to distinguish what a turn is instead of what together is. So these are the three most common simples or singles. Now these are going to encompass pretty much everything in pavans and bossa dances, specifically like bronzals, anything in a line. So these will always be your basic two-step moves. All right, after that, they become doubles. So going straight from here, from the same set of foot movement, you can do what's known as two singles or one double. So I'll show you what that is. Now, as with our bow, pretty much he says majority of all dances start on the left. Why? Because in case the men are nervous and everything like that, they want to make sure that if they step forward, they will step with a weak leg and they'll be able to catch themselves with their strong leg, which is their right, to also include if they need to catch their partner. That's why he says everything is on the left. So now you can do also a count measuring system. So I would go right here and say, this is a 2-count movement. This is a 2-count movement. So you have left together, which is left, and then foot, which is 1 step, and then together is the 2nd. And then right is the 3rd, and together is the 4th. So that is a 4-step with 2 simples. Now, that is a double, which is you take left, right, left, together, going forward. Now you can also change this up by doing in bronzals, which is pretty much going left and right. You can go and there you have the bronzal of a left together, right together, right together. So you got 2 doubles. So once you start adding multiple things together, so that's when, now, this is when you start creating sets. Sets are when you do not the same step, but different steps together. Now that can be 2 steps, it can be 3 steps, it can be 4 steps. So an example there's a thing called a set and turn single. A set and turn single is you take one step to your left, one step to your right, and then you turn usually to your left. Then you repeat it. Whenever you repeat something, you then go with the opposite. So you go right together, left together, turn or spin to your right. Now, since there's three movements, that is when you create a set, and that's called a set. Or those two are called a set and a turn single, which means you just turn twice. To me, it's still a set as a complete thing, because sets are really when you stop what your pattern is and you start repeating or changing the pattern. So, and I'm thinking that's why they added a set and turn single, because the turn is a different pattern aspect. But like I said, to me, that's semantics. This is the way it is. I'm okay with it. So when you start creating sets, like I said, that's when those nice little 3x5 cards or whatever comes into play. And you want to create, okay, I want to do this set. I'll put this and this together, and then I'll repeat it. So I'll do it this way. So everything you can put on one card at that point is now a set. Now, once we get past the sets, the next thing that really comes into play, actually, I'm going to show you real quick how I would write a set and turn single, because so you go, it's a left turn. Now, you can kind of do it like that. I would actually just put it over here, because, like I said, the way that I would write it, okay, you're going left. No, you're actually turning. And to re-verify that, you make a nice little turn mark around the turn, just so you know that you are turning instead of just doing it by the L. But it's like I said, whatever way you write it that you understand best, go for it. I'm going to stop here real quick, and I just want to say, if I'm going too fast, I am sorry. I have a lot of information that I'm trying to condense and kind of throw out there for this class. And I probably should have tried to head it for 2 hours, but I also know that really after an hour, attention and focus kind of goes away. So if there's any issues, I'm going to keep this going afterwards. So if no one has another class that's going on, I'll stay on. We can do a lot more specific talking and everything like that. So if I'm going too fast or there's some questions from what I said, please bring them up to me afterwards or email me. I'll be very happy to continue to discuss this a lot more. All right. Now, the last thing that's going to come into play is what I call the chorus, okay? If you look at it, there is a certain aspect to how dances are created. Usually you're going to have like an intro of some kind. Now that can just be a musical intro, or it could be the pavane steps, whatever you want to do, all right? Then you're also going to have, besides the steps, you're going to have the sets, okay? So I'm just going to go steps/sets. Now, after that, you're going to have the chorus, okay? Now, the chorus is going to be the things that are going to, in our aspects, are going to repeat. But this is where it's going to change and kind of repeat the whole process before. And the chorus that I'm talking about are the three main things, which is siding, arming, and the haze, okay? Or as I like to call them, the I got no laughter on that. That is not a good sign. But anyway, when you write these, if you're going to do a siding, you do a siding right, siding left, arming right, arming left. And then for the haze, okay, it's essentially you're always pretty much going to start with the right. So the majority is going to be like that. And then I put a figure eight, okay? Because pretty much all haze are going to be a multiple figure eight, either usually back to start. So those are the main dance steps that's pretty much used in the majority of all dance combinations. Now you're going to get additional things you can add to it, like reverences, embraces, slides. You're going to get a lot of these when you become doing a lot more of Italian. So they'll like, a slide is kind of like where you turn 45 degrees and kind of slide back 45 degrees, slide back 45 degrees, or turn and you can do a little foot shuffle, turn, a little foot shuffle. There's many, many different things. Now these are going to be called flares and flourishes, that I call, and they're everywhere. Everything from hand gestures to the position of your feet, whether you're going to point your toe, whether instead of pointing your toe, you're actually going to keep it off the floor. Are you going to, instead of just going a step together, I always like to go and do a step, bring my leg up and touch essentially my calf or my knee, and then I go back to the other side. So it's kind of like a little pendulum. For people who have some joint issues or anything, I don't have joint issues like that, but for people who do have joint issues, this actually helps them be able to dance a little bit better because they're not doing a lot of positions that could be uncomfortable. So this is also the other thing on how when you start creating dances and everything, you're going to be having people who are very young and energetic and they can do the galliards like crazy. But when people get older, hey, we're going to be doing nothing but galliards. Really, we have a 93% population of over 55-year-olds. Whose bright idea was this? So you got to be aware of what's going on. And that's kind of why they also had like the lows and the high dances, so that the people could, hey, I can do this dance great, but I can't do this. So that's okay. I'll take a break, get something to drink, have a little snack, eat some baklava or something like that to get my energy level up. And that was also part of the whole things later on when balls were created, which were great theme aspect things, always great. They're always a very big high point on recruiting for getting more people to try dancing. So I always encourage that. But when you get all of these additional additive things, a lot more reverences, and it's not just at the beginning, at the end. You can do five reverences. So you're going to do a reverence before you do the arming, siding, and haze. You can do different things because it's you're in charge of the dance. Simple as that. So, and this is going to be another thing. Like I said, sorry, I have a lot of information. When you go to different kingdoms, even in the society, will have different forms of the exact same dance. So don't get upset. We're like, wait a minute, I was not taught this way. No, because you were taught from this group in this kingdom. this group in this kingdom teaches it different. You're going to see that a lot if you go to Gulf Wars, Penzic especially. They are everywhere. So whenever you have these major kingdom level events, you're going to see a whole bunch of new stuff. And you might see something that you've never thought before. And it was like, hey, that's great. So, all right, we're going to jump now because I am terrible with timing. Let me see what the time is. I got 15 minutes. Crap. So sorry. All right. The first dance I'm going to teach you comes from what's known as the Quadran Pavan. Okay, it's the very first dance in the Inns of Courts. The Inns of Courts is a really good, already established example of how to teach basic dancing. Now, that whole thing it's 4 steps. Okay, you got a single forward, so left together. You have a single forward right. Then you have a double forward, a double backwards, and you got a step to the left, and you got a step to the right. Those are all the 4 dances, or those are all the 4 steps of the dance. The interesting thing is, according to Arbo, there are multiple ways of doing it because there's no specific pattern. But in the Inns of Courts, the pattern is where pretty much everyone stays together. And what they do is they first do a left together, a right together, a left, right, left together, a right together, a left together, and then backwards, a right, left, right together. So pretty much you end up in the exact same spot that you started. That's it. That is the complete basic first dance of the Quadran Pavan from the Inns of Courts. Now you can take that and go, you know what? I'm going to go left together, right together, left forward together, right forward together, left, right, left together. And then I'm going to repeat the same thing. So all of a sudden, instead of going in a straight line, you're actually going slightly at an angle as an entire group. It's 4, well, actually it's 5. So you go left, right, forward and back. 6, I'm sorry, man, way too early. Forward double and a back double. So you got 6 steps, but they're all of 4 main movements. So that's the Quadran Pavan. Very simple, very easy, and can be arranged pertaining to the number of people you have there. If you are in a small building, but it's very long, then you can go and specifically design the dance for everyone to be moving forward and backwards more than left and right. So it's a good, easy, basic dance. Now, the next one is what's known as a bronzal. So it's the original bronzal. It's very simple. What you do is you do a left together, left together. So you do 2 left symbols or singles. Then you go right together, right together. All right. Now you're going to do it again. Left together, left together. Right together, right together. You just repeated the exact same thing. So like I said, the left together, right together, you can create as a set. Then you just repeat the set. So like I said, you have one card, says this, the exact same card, the same thing, put it right back down there. Then from there, you have what's known as 6 straight lefts. So you go left together, left together, left together, left together, left together. When you get to 6, Then what you do is you face your partner and you do a gentle lift. Your partner needs to jump straight up, and then you just gently bring your partner back down to the ground. And then you repeat that. And you go left together, left together, left together, left together, left together, left together, left together. 6 counts, because like I said, it's going to be essentially an 8-count movement for everything. And at which point, now your partner will change sides. So they'll go from your right to your left. Your partner jumps up, and you go and just gently carry the person and set the person down to your right side. Now, you don't have to jump. You can do a spin where the person's like, I can't jump. Okay, then you take the arm and you do a front spin where they come in and they spin in front of you, and then they go to the spot. You can actually kind of essentially rotate yourselves. So at that point, I'm going to do a very bad example of it. And that is, sorry, I'm in a hotel room that's really small. So from there, what you do is you come in, you go 2 hands, and you do like a double spin like that. So you can go and take 1 hand and spin your person in front, or you can exchange spots by bringing the person in together and then do a double arm turn or a swing and exchange spots. So it all depends on how comfortable you are, the amount of times you practice things. Those are pretty much the simplest aspects. All right, now the third simplest one is a dance that actually I created. So doing a little self-promotion here. Okay, one of the dances that there was is called a torch bronzel or brawl. To me, it's a terribly boring and not a great exciting dance. So I converted it to a pavon, and it's called the candle pavon, because you can either do it as an individual person, or everyone can hold a candle if they have space issues or anything like that. So the way that this one goes is you do a pavon step, which is where you go left together, right together, left, right, left together. That's the basic set of a pavon step, is 2 singles or simples and a double. Now from there, what you do is you face your person and you do an arming. So what that means is you will go face your partner, and you will do a very slow 8-count turn. So it's a very slow dance. So people who want to learn, this is a very good dance instead of trying to do a type fast. So they do a 360-degree turn. Now, try and show you again. So you go left together, right together, left, right, left together. Now from here, you face your partner and you do either hold hands, palming, however you want to do it. And you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now when you get to the 8 part, you're now facing this way and your partner is facing that way. So what you do is immediately go to a side, because you're at a side. So you're right shoulder to right shoulder. And you do a slow 8-count turn. You go in place. You go 1, 2, 3, 4. Now at this point, you can do a little head bow. 5, 6, 7, 8. And now what you're doing is you're facing the opposite. So now you're going left shoulder to left shoulder. And now you just repeat it back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And now you just do a pavane step again. You break off from your partner and you find a new partner. So this is a dance that can help bring in new people who want to dance with a partner. But it can be various. So you can hold hands while doing it, or if you want to hold a candle, you can hold a candle, and now you're doing a pavane step, and you find someone and you light that person's candle, which means I want to dance with you, and only people who are holding candles will be people who want to dance. And then from there, you just repeat the pavane set, the arming, and the sighting. And then you break off, and those two people find new people, and it starts to build the dancing field. So more and more people start dancing. I use a song specifically for Yule for this one because it works quite well. One person actually said, you know what would be a great aspect to this? If you did the candles, and after everyone got done dancing, I mean, the room is dark except for the candles. And as people continue to start dancing, there's more and more light from the candles. So at that point, the room starts to get bigger and bigger. And at the end, everyone blows out their candles and it gets completely dark. And I'm like, oh my God, I never even thought of that. I think that's great. So, let's see. Yes, sorry, it was I had a lot of stuff there. I see people are dropping off. I do want to thank everyone for showing up. A lot of the information I got is mainly from a lot of existing books, orchestrography, Playford, everything like that. So in the meantime, I hope this has been helpful for people, and I hope everyone continues to dance because I want everyone to make every dance their own. So thank you very much. Hope everyone has a good day.